the reason I went to the hospital. A lot of you requested to actually see the hospital in Eastern Europe, which led to a greater discussion. Are they prepared enough? Is it clean enough? Is it going to be able to handle a much larger problem? In the beginning of the video, I tell you about my embarrassing foot wart that oozes and goozes, but towards the end, we talk about the infrastructure necessary to prevent coronavirus. It's a doozy. This is a story all about how I even got a foot wart on my foot. Okay, so as we know, your walnut likes to walk around barefoot. I like to skedaddle. I like to prance around in the wilderness. And apparently the floor where I walked wasn't very clean. Apparently I also have dry cracked heels like a grandma walnut, or I had some kind of cut on my foot. Probably a paper cut because I don't do much. So I hopped in the car and got a ride in the rain. It was raining today, so it was dark, gloomy, sad. I think that only added to the mystery and decrepitness of this building. I don't think it's actually that bad if the sun is shining. I did spot a wild Einstein in the wilderness though, so I knew I was going to be in good hands, because if there's someone smarter than me, it's definitely only Albert Einstein and nobody else. It's raining on me. So smart that I put my camera on slow-mo for this part, huh? Genius over here. I skedaddled in and made sure to actually wear shoes today and not go barefoot, because this is how I got in this mess in the first place. The streets, how do they look to you guys? A lot of you guys in the last video said that Eastern Europe all looks the same and that your country looks like this too. So let me know if this reminds you of your home country or of Russia or of like wherever you live. And the floor is really typical for Eastern Europe. I don't really know what it's called. It's like a concrete stamp mix. Even though it's not new, it looks very, very clean. Like it looks freshly swept, mopped, clean. There's a plant. Look at the attempted decoration. How this occurred, I had a cut on my foot and I stepped on something not very clean with like HPV in it or something. Wait, let me explain about the human papillomavirus. I have a vaccine against this, and I was thinking, how did I even get this? Well, apparently there's a lot of different strains. There are some strains that are very dangerous and very offensive to the human body, but also there's some strains that are very cosmetic and annoying, like the kind that I have. The kind that I have is apparently only one that causes foot warts. Now, it's only on the top surface on my skin. It doesn't go in through the body. It just lays on the like top layer on the epidermis. So it just creates foot warts. And now, why are foot warts annoying and why do I have to deal with them in the first place? Well, they hurt. They feel like you're walking on nails, on one singular nail that constantly presses in your skin. And this kind of creates a problem for when I work out or when I jog. A lot of the times, an excuse I have for not working out is my foot hurts. And like, I honestly skipped the gym and didn't do any physical exercise for 3 months because I was like, oh, I have to wait till the thing on my foot goes away. But like, it's not going away. It's been here for 2 years. So I had to see a doctor. So that's exactly what I did. But this isn't my first rodeo at a doctor's office. My foot wart is very persistent. Kind of like me with the eating like videos. I walked up to this neon green hallway and knocked on the doctor's door. Soon we were prompted to walk in when he creaked the door open silently and didn't say anything. We walked in, I sat down on this like thing, and I covered up the camera because I was too embarrassed to film. Gotta love that social anxiety. Once I made some really bad jokes and I warmed up a little bit, I was ready to film my foot wart again. He touched it with his bare hands and I was worried for him, but I pulled away, not because he bothered me, but because it hurts really bad. It's tender. It's ouchy. Walking on a foot wart feels like you're walking on a metal screw. The first time I saw a doctor for this, it was a nice, kind lady in New York City, baby, who I waited 2 hours to see, and it cost me $200, but we're not going to talk about the American healthcare system in this video yet. What she did was she disinfected a scalpel and she cut it off, she wrapped it and put salicylic acid on it, which is so fun because it was supposed to exfoliate it, but then it started peeling. I started becoming a snake walnut, and then all of a sudden you had this video that is so interesting to my TikTok followers of me peeling the top layer of skin off my foot wart. Why do I put this stuff on the internet? Does anyone else deal with really weird, embarrassing, like, things on their body? Because what the fuck? Some people said it was shaped like a heart, which is cool because I've never had a heart in my body before, so finally. So yeah, that didn't work. It came back again and again and again. And like now I'm going to a doctor in Bulgaria. Now when I show you this kind of hospital or doctor's office, I could make it really dramatic. I could dim the lights, add like a LUT loader to it, which is like this filter that makes it more creepy. I could play creepy music and you can get this really weird post-communist era hospital vibe to it. I could also get rid of the music and the editing and just give it to you normally, which also has a creepy vibe to it. A lot of it reminds me of like the Bald and Bankrupt stuff because he films a lot of Eastern Europe and like some not very nice areas. That I just wanted to say, every country has its pros and cons. I can film gross things in every country and then very nice things in every country. I don't think the grass is greener in any country around the world. I think it's like a light yellow green pretty much everywhere. You know, The whole world could use some watering. Although it looks really old and decrepit in some parts, the people in it are very nice and very knowledgeable. Although the doctors don't have all the tools they need and like the latest technology to go beep bop boop and figure out more things, they are very smart and well-educated people. The doctors in this country are not any less smart or less helpful or less knowledgeable than any other country. They just have less tools at their disposal, and that's just unfortunately the way the world got shaken up. They don't have everything they need to do the best job that they probably could do, which isn't fair. But today they did have what I needed, which was liquid nitrogen and a Q-tip. So what happens is you freeze off the skin cells, and you just have to go deep enough so it gets in there. My foot looked like it was vaping, so I'll definitely have to have a talk with him later. Here it's how it looks. Delicious. Don't you just love this video? I don't know why I did this. I've heard stories from my grandparents and my parents from like 20, 30, 40 years ago of times they used to go to the hospital and they have to bring their own band-aids, cotton ball, alcohol wipes, like all sorts of things because the hospital just didn't have the necessary equipment, and that's nobody's fault but the government. Things are a lot better now. It's getting progressively better and better, but it's still not great. Some things are falling apart still. What I did find really interesting is the overwhelming sense of smoke throughout the entire hospital. I don't know why, but people in Bulgaria still don't realize that smoking is bad for you. Or they do realize it, but it just brings them so much joy that they're like, I'm not going to put away my one vice because this is the only thing that brings me joy. So I kind of understand. It's kind of odd seeing doctors smoke outside. I mean, you see it in America too. This is not a thing that just happens in Bulgaria. It's just, maybe it's such a high stress job with like not enough equipment, and that's why they need a relief of some kind, even though they know it's unhealthy. But the hospital smelled like smoke. The doctors I saw smelled like smoke. I also thought juuling was better until like people's lungs started collapsing. Then I was like, I guess the smoke could have been coming from my foot wart, who seemed to not stop vaping the whole time we were there. It's apparently liquid nitrogen. It's supposed to freeze the wart off. I've gone 3 times and it's still here. A lot of people on TikTok were commenting that he was double dipping in the liquid nitrogen. Yeah, I noticed that too. I don't know if it's good or bad. You can let me know in the comments. But I was thinking maybe since the liquid nitrogen container is so cold, nothing can live in there at that temperature. I don't know. Then I walked into the pharmacy there just to show you guys what they had. They had a lot of homeopathic medicine in a pharmacy in a hospital, which I thought was interesting. They also had fishies, which I think are to eat and boost your omega-3. I also saw a lot of these cool old-time bottles in like this rustic orange color I really like. I don't know. I think although they don't have the all of the high-tech stuff, they are doing the best job that they can. It does make me a little bit worried for when eventually coronavirus does come to Bulgaria. I think it's already here. I know it's already been a major threat to a lot of places in Europe like Italy and Germany, and unfortunately they've had a really hard time dealing with it just because people travel so much. And I'm not necessarily worried about myself or Nick or anybody. I'm just more worried about like the elderly population and people with underlying causes already. I'm trying my best to wash my hands a lot, not cough on anybody, wear masks, especially when I hang out with my grandparents. I'm like extra cautious because I also heard that you can be a carrier of coronavirus even if you are not showing symptoms. I think Dr. Mike makes really good videos about it that are actually factually correct and that aren't like fear mongering. I didn't want to like make this into a gigantic fear thing, but I just did want to mention for you guys because I really think we got to protect our vulnerable population. It's really important to me. So most important thing is wash your hands a lot, don't cough or sneeze on people, obviously wear masks, and most importantly don't be racist, because I have been seeing a lot of cases of Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean people being negatively impacted by this, even though they've never been there, if they don't have any way that they would have the virus. I saw a lot of Chinese restaurants, like their business is declining. I saw some that are like, please order Chinese takeaway this week because our business is really going down, and it makes me feel really sad because it's like the virus could have originated anywhere. If a virus started in Italy, would we all stop eating Italian food? No. So I feel like this is kind of a little bit racist, I don't know. But it's not only Bulgaria and Europe that is going to have a hard time dealing with coronavirus. Other places, I saw that in New York they don't want to close the schools down because a lot of the children need the meals because they can't afford breakfast and lunch at home. Their parents are only used to being able to provide one meal for them, so they can't physically close the schools, which I find really worrying. I did see that in Japan, if you think you're infected, you go through the hospital actually in a drive-thru and you stay in your car and they test you, and then you go off on your way and they call you if there's a problem. I think a really big problem is going to be hospitals, like waiting in the emergency rooms to get tested is going to be a breeding ground to spread it more. So yeah, I think we need better infrastructure. That's why I'm making this video, because I'm like, what do we do? Like, well, I wish governments would like step in and like do more. So I just want to touch on that. Just most importantly, wash your hands, don't sneeze on people, and don't be racist. I hope you enjoyed enriching your life and seeing a hospital in another country. Bye. Walnut out.